Have you ever been triggered in a relationship by your partner and you're just not sure why? Today, let's talk about how your past trauma shapes your current relationship and how to break free from it. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear step-by-step process that will help you let go of your emotional baggage. Don't play hard to get with me. Hit that subscribe. I got you. First of all, trauma is not just in your head, and it's something that doesn't just go away if you pretend it's not there. Most people do not acknowledge and suppress their emotions, and it builds up over a period of time. The problem with that is that it compounds, so each year you do that, the worse it becomes, and it influences all of your communication, how you trust other people, and how you repair from an argument. An argument is not a problem, but how you repair is a problem if you don't have an effective repair process already built. I remember early in my relationship journey, I had a deep problem with people leaving me because I had middle child syndrome, and I had a situation when I was younger where we lost my sister on the train, and from then onwards it started to compound this concept that I was going to be abandoned. This then plays out in different attachment styles and then starts to affect all of your relationships because of that. I remember meeting a girl at university who I really wanted to be with. I had spent months trying to get her on board, and then when it finally did actually happen, I remember all she did is put her hand on me in the morning, and that was it. I was out, because in my mind I started thinking she wants to get married. I've played this huge game. She's now going to want more, and I don't want to do that. And this is how your attachment styles can ruin your entire communication moving forward. Drop a comment below if you want more on attachment styles, and I'll happily do a deeper video on that. Once I recognized the patterns, I could start to do something about it. If you are unaware of the patterns that you have, then there's nothing you can do. Awareness will always set you free. Number one, you got to identify the trigger. What situations or behaviors specifically make you feel unsafe? And it's important to write it down so you bring awareness to that situation. It might be jealousy, criticism, or feeling unheard. Triggers will stem from a situation in your past, and it might not be like a really big situation. A lot of people think, well, I've had a great relationship. I've had a great upbringing. My family were very close. And that, I'm sure, and that's brilliant and great for you. And it doesn't mean that you won't have triggers though. It is impossible for anyone to go through their life without collecting some form of triggers, because we as humans are driven by emotion. Emotion is very misunderstood most of the time, and it will be impossible for your parents to constantly make sure that your emotions are heard, that you feel validated, that you feel secure. It's all part of the human existence, because from a behavioral perspective, we have to feel unsafe to drive us further forward, so we grow to become better. Number two, you've got to recognize your patterns specifically in the context that they actually happen. Do you withdraw from people? Do you use silent treatment? Do you use people pleasing? Do you lash out? What is the coping mechanism that you deal with the situation? Because once you've identified your fight or flight response mechanism, then you can start understanding that you can choose to be different in those moments. Yes, every pattern has been trained for a period of time, and so if you've been doing a negative pattern for 20 years, it's going to take more than just a couple of days to retrain it. From a neuroplasticity perspective, you've got hardwired grooves now in that negative behavior. It doesn't mean that it's fixed for life, but it does mean if you want to change something different, you're going to have to equally compound on something good. Now, advantage of this is that you don't have to spend 30 years, 20 years trying to create a new habit. It can happen relatively very quickly, 30 days for example. I've had many clients completely rewire their behaviors. It's just keeping it consistent. So you must have accountability in place, and you must have a system in place where you reflect back on your current patterns, and again, be open that your partner can also point that out, and vice versa. Number three, you got to reframe your internal dialogue. The key is to catch, what are you actually saying to yourself? The more awareness that you actually bring to yourself, you will be able to catch a limited voice, a negative voice that's saying something in that moment. Is it, I'm not worthy of love, or people always leave me? You have to challenge these thoughts and create a more positive narrative. It has to be a positive affirmation in there. I'm a massive fan of positive affirmations, and I know some people think they're a little bit woo-woo, but it's proven. If you just run yourself down, do the test for example. If you write down every single day that you're a piece of shit, and that you don't like yourself and all of the negative things that you've ever heard about yourself. Imagine writing that down for 30 days. Are you going to be in a better space at the end of that? Of course you're not. So the inverse is equally true. If you wrote down a load of good things about yourself and you repeated them every day, would you be better after 30 days of doing it? Of course you. It's not rocket science. Do this test. If you go to the gym, run on a treadmill, and just say to yourself over and over again, I can't, I can't, I can't. And notice your body's not going to want to carry on. And if you are aware of your body and you're in tune with your body and mind connection, you're going to start to notice that your legs want to give up, you start to hurt in your knees, and you start to hurt around your body. Now, opposite, say I can, I can, I can. And notice when you do say that, you feel stronger in your stride, you feel stronger in your joints, and you feel like you can just do a little bit more. Again, this is not rocket science stuff. And so if you don't believe me, go out and test it and see it for yourself. If you have no mind-body connection and you have very little awareness around it, you might not notice the subtle differences straight away. But I guarantee you, with a little bit of time on it, you will be able to notice that positive affirmation making a difference to how you feel within your body. I remember when I first started speaking, I wanted to be much louder because a lot of people thought, and I'm quiet, I'm gentle by nature. And I wanted to increase my projection because people were coming to the events and saying he's very, very quiet. And so I was practicing on being more vocal and more loud. And so I was going to these business networking events where you just do a minute pitching. And I remember specifically going to this one saying, I'm going to be as loud as I can, practice projecting my voice. And I remember the person before me got up and was so loud. They were like a wedding introducer. They were the loudest person you could possibly have just before you. And I remember the moment he sat down, my mind said to me, you can never be as loud as him. And as I stood up, I actually said it out loud. I thought it and then I said it. And as you bring more awareness, you will be able to grab that inner critic, because as soon as I heard it, I was like, no, I'm going to be as loud as I can. And I was, and people were like, it was too loud. But that was the feedback I was looking for. And you will be able to grab that voice, I promise you. I know it sounds a bit abstract, but trust me, give it a go, it's well worth it. Number 4, you've got to build emotional regulation. What is emotional regulation? Your ability to be able to calm yourself down. Remember when babies cry, what happens? We have to soothe them. And maybe you've seen someone do this before, but you basically rock them up and down and you soothe them. You make quiet noises, you breathe on them and you blow on them and sing with them. And you do all of these things to calm their nervous system. Now we're no different. We just forgot and we grew up and now we no longer can actually do that because we're an adult. And so you have to find ways of emotionally regulating yourself, which is basically self-soothing, just like a baby does. I remember a while back, my sister, she gets super stressed out. She's got kids. She lives, in a 9-to-5 world, and it's a tough world. She has, a schedule and everything. It's like da 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 da. Do you know what I mean? She has to fill out all her time with the kids. And I remember once she got super stressed, and I was just trying this concept out, and I just started twirling her around like a little ballet dancer. And as she was doing it, she started to relax, her breathing relaxed. I know it sounds a little bit cheesy, but it really, really works. Until you can't knock it till you give it a go. Any self-soothing exercise, from breathing, meditation, to journaling, whatever you find is comfortable for you, because I know you're going to have your personal preference, but something really quick. Breathing has got huge scientific backed evidence today. One of the quickest ways to change your emotional state, and it's free. You can do it anywhere. And if you haven't tried a deep breathing protocol as yet, I would 100% recommend it. And the reason why is because when you are emotionally charged, your brain is flooded with all of these emotions. It does not think at the same level as when it's calm. And so you're going to say things that you don't want to say. You're going to say things that you regret and say things that you can't take back because you are emotionally flooded. So the goal is to make sure that we let out those emotions. Like a fizzy can, take the top off and you let the emotion out. Number 5, you've got to seek connection and support. You've got to do the work and understand where those triggers come from. I promise you, if you look at where they came from and you complete in that area. What I mean complete is most people go through life and they have grudges against people that they've had conflict with. Maybe it's a parent. There's always a parent that you're lacking the love that you really want from. Maybe it's your mother or your father. Maybe you didn't have one of them and you feel like you're less than because of that. So one must create completion in those areas. what do I mean again by completion? Imagine you and I have an argument and we don't finish it, and we both leave the room. We have this tension between each other, and you can try to pretend it's not there, but your brain will hold it. And what that does is create like data in your mind. So you're thinking about this thing all the time, and it's taking up space in your mind. It's occupying your mind, which means that you're thinking about it, which means it drains your energy in other areas, and so you become less effective. Have you ever noticed when you argue with someone and then you actually confront that argument and you release all of that tension? Notice how much lighter you feel because of that, because you're actually physically holding a weight of tension when you argue with someone. And so it's the same concept. If you don't heal the past, if you don't look at completing in those relationships, they will keep on replaying negative patterns over and over again for you until you take the lesson. I recommend therapy, doing the inner work. Coming on one of my programs, of course, is going to be standard for you. And it's not as scary as you think. Once you have done that work and you release that, I promise you, it will be the most fulfilling thing that you ever do in your world. Remember, healing is a journey, it's not a destination. Every small step that you take to heal from the past leads to greater self-awareness and healthier relationships in the future. Because you're not alone. Hit that subscribe. I got you.